So today we'll talk about a new concept in decision making and figuring out what the best buy is by looking into a concept called the layaway. So maybe one day you've decided that you want to actually buy something, but you don't have the money. Okay. Now, although most people make purchases instantly by paying them by either cash, check, debit card, or credit card, sometimes retailers offer other payment options in order to make it easy for you to pay for it, right? Another type of thing that we do is we use this thing called layaway. All right. We have layaway. We could do renting with an option to buy. We can pay by installments. And we could also have no interest payments on our credit cards. Okay. Now, today we're going to look at the option that we're going to call as layaway, okay? When you hear the concept of a layaway, we can think of a layaway as a purchase, okay? The buyer basically puts down what we call a deposit, okay? Now, that deposit is often a percentage of the price that includes the taxes, okay? Now, the remaining amount is paid when the item is picked up. Now, no fees apply for using this kind of method. So it's kind of like it's better than a credit card in the sense that you pay for a part of it and then you don't have to pay any interest on it until you at all. And then at the very end, you just pay off the rest of it after the specific amount of time that you agreed with. Okay, so here is our first example of the day. Now, imagine that you go to either a store like Radio Shack or the Bay, and you decide that you want to buy something like a luxurious couch. Now, this guy, Matt, he goes to Tepperman's, okay? Tepperman's is a famous store in Ontario that basically has these different types of furniture. And in this case, he decides to buy a luxurious couch for $7.99. He's purchasing the couch on layaway. So he can't afford it now, but he's going to pay a little bit of it now and then pay the end of it, pay the rest of it, maybe a couple months later in full. Okay? Now, he's required to pay 25% of the item as a deposit before tax. So here's what we do. When we say that we have to pay 25% of the item as a deposit before tax, this is the amount that we pay before tax. In order to do all of our calculations, we actually have to take the time and figure out step one, which is the total price with tax. So let's do that right now. So to calculate the total price before tax, what we got to do, with tax, is we assume it's 13%. And what we do is we just multiply price by 1.13 to get a total price of this, $902.78. So we say as our final answer, so we're going to say the total with tax is $902.78. So that is the total amount that we're going to have to pay. Now, we got to calculate the layaway price. Now, remember, we said that the layaway price was 25% of the original amount before tax. So let's go and do that right now. So now your layaway before tax is $7.99 times 25%, which is the original price times 25%. And remember that 25% is based on the typical problem that you've got. So when we do our final calculation, we end up with $199.75. So you're going to say, therefore, the layaway price is $199.75. Make sure you highlight that in your work. Now, remember, it's the amount of money that you pay in order for the company to hold that product for you. And then later on, a couple of months down the line, a couple of weeks down the line, when you come in with the rest of the money, you can walk away with the difference that you have between these. Okay? And you just pay off the rest of it with no interest. All right, let's move on to the next concept. So now Roxanne has got a signed collector's extreme edition of a thing called Dirty Jobs for $1,055.80. Okay, so it was an auction or something, right? Now, here is the thing. You got to pay attention to the question. She's required to put down a deposit of, well, 20% of the price, including tax. So for the layaway, we have to figure out what the total price of our thing is. So in this case, unlike the first problem, we have to figure out the total price before, and then we're going to use the total price as part of our layaway calculation. So let's go and quickly calculate the total price of this thing with taxes. So remember, we take what our price and we multiply by 1.13 to get the total with tax in one shot. So we calculate it to be 176.05. So now let's get to the deposit. Now it says that the deposit is 20% of the price including tax. So let's do that using the total price with tax. So essentially we're just calculating the layaway, which is our 176.05, and we're going to times that by 20%, which is 176.05 times, well, if you don't know 20%, just go 20 divided by 100. So basically this is the same as this, which gives us this final answer. So we end up with having to pay 35.02. So this is what you say as your final answer. So in this case, we say the deposit or the layaway is $35.02. Now, that's how you do it. So here's what I want you to try. I want you to try this problem here, and then I will put the solution up for you. Read the problem. Pete has purchased a motorcycle. The cost of the motorcycle is $21,000. He needs to pay the tax. Yeah. Okay. But to calculate, put down a deposit of 35% of the price. Okay. And of the motorcycle, including tax. All right. And all we need to do is calculate the deposit amount. Okay. That's it. So pause the video, try this, and see what your answer is. So remember, tax is 13%. So calculating tax, we get this. Now let's figure out what the deposit is. Remember, the deposit is 35% of the price, including tax. So to calculate the deposit or layaway, we take the total price. We're going to multiply by our 35% that we have to pay as our deposit. And then we go and take those numbers. We take 35% and we're going to turn it into 35 divided by 100 and use the original price. Multiply, you get this number. And then you say the deposit that you're putting in is that. So just remember, with the layaway, you pay your deposit, and then later on, a couple months later, a couple weeks later, you can go in and pay the balance of your total. That's it. All right. Good luck. Your work is online. Do the 4 questions that are available to you.